S.F.W, which stands for So Fucking What. It's a 1994 American black comedy film directed by Jeffrey Levy. Jeffrey Levy is an American film and television director, producer, writer based in Beverly Hills, California. He worked on movies or TV shows you may have heard, like Eureka in 2006.
Good show.
The Dead Zone 2003.
Watched a few of those. Pretty good.
CSI Crime Scene Investigation.
My wife's a fan.
Profiler from 1999.
Know that one.
Yeah. Sliders, 1997. You know Sliders.
I know Sliders. Wow. All right.
Prior to this, it looks like the first. God, and I remember this just because, like, I don't ever think I ever actually watched it, but I can remember like seeing the VHS in every video store I ever went into, and always getting like a shiver up my spine. He worked on Ghoulies.
Oh, Ghoulies!
1985. Yeah.
Did you say you never watched it, or you did?
I may have watched it. I don't remember.
It's a comedy. From my understanding, it's a horror comedy, so I don't think it would be too stomach churning. But yeah, it's the Ghoulies sticking out of the toilet. I know exactly the VHS cover you're talking about.
So it's written by Levy and Danny Rubin. It's based on the 1991 novel of the same name by Andrew Wellman. It stars Stephen Dorff and a young cutie patootie Reese Witherspoon.
Indeed.
This made $63,000 at the box office.
Oh my.
Yes, sir. S.F.W. received negative reviews from critics, and a one-star review critic, Roger Ebert, said the film is intended as a satirical attack on the cult of celebrity, but its central figure is the most singularly stupid, obnoxious character I've seen on screen in many a day, which would be promising if he were not boring as well. And this is a 12% on Rotten Tomatoes. But dig this soundtrack, Jesse. Can we just talk about this for a minute? Jesus Christ Pose by Soundgarden. Get Your Gun by Marilyn Manson. Yeah. Can I Stay by the Pretty Mary Sunshine. Teenage Whore by Hole. Like, they what you wrote about Courtney Love, and I've said nothing but she's a murderer. But damn Hole was good. Hey, this might sound familiar to you. Negasonic Teenage Warhead.
Yes,
by
indeed. Monster Magnet.
Yep. Like Suicide, the acoustic version by Soundgarden former singer Chris Cornell. No Fucking Problem by Suicidal Tendencies. Surrender, which is a cover of the Cheap Trick song by Paw. Creep by Radiohead. Which, boy. That has never left the culture.
Listen to that today, as a matter of fact. I'm not a Radiohead fan, but my daughter is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Two at a Time by Cop Shoot Cop, which I remember like one particular Cop Shoot Cop album floating around for a really long time during this period, you know, because that name stands out to you. Say What You Want by Babes in Toyland, part of the Riot Girl movement. S.F.W. by Gwar, we've talked about them. and Spab and Janet Evening, The Green Room, Graham Revell.
What?
Yeah, so I think I came to know this movie because I got the soundtrack first. I mean, you had this was right with Judgment Night. This had to be like in your stack of soundtracks. It had to be in your record collection.
Wow.
The song S.F.W. by Gwar was nominated for the Grammy Award for Best Metal Performance at the 38th Annual Grammy Awards. So that's really it. There's not a lot of like cultural stuff to talk about with this movie. The basic premise is the movie takes place in the aftermath of a hostage crisis where a group of American terrorists keep a handful of shoppers hostage in what amounts to be a 7-Eleven for 36 days. Some of the hostages don't make it, and eventually it ends in a shootout / escape between the hostages and the terrorists. But what makes this situation different from all the others is the entirety of their hostage crisis is filmed and broadcasted. This is done through the use of VHS tapes, which are then played in their entirety on the evening news because there was no internet. now you're like, oh, like who does? Like, are you kidding me? The terrorist situation, hostage crisis. We fucking broadcast that shit all day long on TikTok. Okay, well in 1994 it was novel. So, And then because the entirety of this situation is being broadcast to the world, Stephen Dorff talks through a lot of it to kind of keep himself sane, but also because he's kind of, a ne'er-do-well and an asshole. And what he in the refrain, his kind of manifesto, his personal philosophy is so fucking what? As I said on my TikTok, this is lazy nihilism at its finest.
Ooh, wow, man! Me and you are going to have to talk about this.
All right,
I have complete
Mr. Conflict.
Views.
Let's fight.
Okay. I think what our filmmakers were trying to get across here is the media's infatuation with trauma.
Okay, let me put a tack in that because I don't know if we're that far apart. What I'm saying is him as a character and his personal philosophy is as shallow as it gets.
At the beginning, I'll agree with you. Okay. The moment that this movie starts, or the moment that this hostage crisis ends, is where things change for this man. And throughout the rest of this film, we're watching him actually try to process and deal with, number one, what happened to him. Number one, and then number two, the society's, society's taking of his trauma and turning it into something.
So just to get through the plot synopsis, so they shoot their way out. They are freed, and now he's spent the last 36 days babbling into this camera.
Right.
And like him and Reese and the other character like doing skits, and it's all bullshit. It's like, imagine just the dumbest, TikTok live you've ever seen. That's what it is for 36 days. So when it's over, people are like, "Oh my God, everything you said touched me." And he, very much like Harry Hardon, very much like, Mark's character in Pump Up the Volume. He's like, I don't want to lead anything. I don't want to be an inspiration. I was just talking. None of what I said should be taken seriously. And the problem is, no one was really listening to what he said per se. They were listening to the fact that he said it, and they glommed onto it and made him a celebrity. They made him an icon, and he is so woefully unprepared and unwilling to be that thing. He spends the rest of the movie running from it.
Well, I think a lot of it is when he started to realize that, they're taking what happened. He's the celebrity. This is mentioned quite a few times through the movie. He, what was his buddy's name? Joe Dice, I think is his name. Joe, his buddy that he goes to, by the way, there's a lot of symbolism in this movie as well. What's the name of the place they go to where the hostage situation starts? The Fun Stop. Now think about what that means. That just looking at those two words, they walked in there and that's where the fun stopped. This man's life had started now. And so from that point forward, he's starting to watch how they're not considering the trauma, the ordeal that he went through, nor are they considering the fact that his best friend got shot.
Right.
But everybody's having a good time. S.F.W.
Nor do they care.
Nor do they care.
It's funny. Could you talk about celebrity and everybody? You are made a star by the people, and those very same people are just as quick to tear you down. I'm reading a book. Unfortunately, I haven't read past the first chapter, but the whole thing is about celebrity women in like the early 2000s, and the first chapter is about Britney Spears, and it deals with the fact that the people made her a superstar, and when there were some cracks, in the veneer, everybody like wolves dove on it and tore that poor girl and her life to shreds.
What was the one guy's? He became a meme. What did he used to say? Like, save Britney or...
Oh, no, leave Britney alone.
Leave Britney alone. Leave Britney alone.
Yeah. So, I think that's a lot of what S.F.W. is dealing with. My problem is S.F.W. as an idea, I think, is good. S.F.W. in execution, not so much. So to get to the end of the plot synopsis, so half of this movie is him just dicking around. He's just dicking around. He's he's just avoiding being a celebrity and like hiding from the cops and hiding from people and hiding from everything. And and the people that he's dealing with are all nuts. So it's kind of episodic. Like S.F.W. works better as a television show than it does a movie. Meanwhile, Reese Witherspoon's like trying to appropriately and maturely cope with celebrity, but she's talking about her trauma and she's doing interviews, but she's the other side of him where she's more coherent and mature about it, but she's also feeling a bit dirty about the whole thing and feeling used. And it all leads to this one scene where if his whole thing is nothing matters, he is met by the resistance to that in the form of this character who says everything matters and proceeds to shoot him. And
becomes the next story.
Right. And he is then summarily forgotten about. He is yesterday's news.
Yep.
And now the new hot thing is this chick that shot, that shot this poor idiot.
Yep.
Here's the thing. I think it's very important to say that Stephen Dorff's character had nothing of value to say. But because people were in love with the presentation, what he was saying was artificially inflated. And the thing of it is he knows that. He knows he knows he has nothing worthwhile to say.
What we are watching throughout this film is him grasping the fact that, nothing I says matters, but these people believe that it does, and it doesn't. None of that matters. What matters is what happened to me, what happened to my friend. But no, we're not going to. We want to focus on trying to make a buck off of it in some way.
Right.
Gary Coleman and Dory Smelling doing the reenactment, which was funny.
Yeah. When he goes to pick up his last paycheck from the hamburger stand, and they're like, "We made you employee of the month." He was like, I don't deserve to be. You know that. And if I hadn't been a hostage, I wouldn't be employee of the month. This is bullshit. What's punk rock about S.F.W. is that very thing. It is seeing the artificialness of the world and needing to poke a hole through it. And by the same token, and this is what I was saying about an hour ago, the need for those who benefit from the artificialness to discredit you from trying to tear it down and keep the artifice up. And there's the push and pull, between people like me who have a incessant obsession with having to poke holes in the falseness of our reality, and those who need that falseness to be there. And I'm not even talking about the people who take necessarily, who are benefiting from it. I mean people who are very comfortable. I keep hearing the phrase like red pill, red pill and blue pill. People are, and I bring this up because people were very comfortable in the movie The Matrix with living in the Matrix. By the end of that series, it didn't become a matter of you must live the real life. The false life is no life at all. It was give people a choice. Mm-hmm. Some people will have happiness in slavery. Some people will not. And what matters is the choice, not the existence of one or in the absence of the other, or vice versa. And that's kind of Stephen Dorff's whole thing in S.F.W. is I can't stand living with the falseness of it all. And the rest of the world going, but none of this means anything unless you embrace the falseness of it. And I just told you a better story than what's in the movie.
I think the way that they do this, they get this message across very subtly. It's not very, it is heavy-handed in the fact that there is some absurd shit that happens to make you realize, okay, these guys are, but I think the whole him dealing with his trauma and him just realizing society has flipped their fucking lid. The way that they are handling this.
When you can wake up and see the code of the Matrix, it fucking freaks you out.
Yeah, he's starting to realize. And I think this movie and the next movie, our last movie we're going to discuss, both of them really have themes of like growing up.
Yeah.
And realizing, okay, this is kind of what society is.
What was tonight's genre, Jesse? Raw, unfiltered rebellion from outsiders seeking identity in a world they can't conform to. Right.
And this one is a situation, when I think of rebellion, I'm thinking of somebody just sticking to the man, blah, blah, blah. Spab's arc in this whole thing is realizing that I think he was a rebel before. And then as we get through this traumatic experience that happens to him, he has to grow up quickly. And then he starts to realize like how fucked up society is that they are going to use.
I think it's rebellion through laziness.
Okay.
Because here's the thing. The mainstream, what's the word I'm looking for? The establishment is you grow up, you honor your parents, you go to school, you get an education, you get more education, you get a profession, you get property, you get a relationship, you get kids, you get a retirement, you travel, you die. That is mainstream. That's the establishment. Anything that isn't that is rebellion.
Mm-hmm.
If I reject all of the establishment structures, if I reject all of the artifices, if I reject all of these societal structures, then I am rebelling against those things. So it's why so much of like punk is, it looks like everyone just being lazy. When we're going to talk about this with SLC punk, it's just being lazy, doing nothing. Doing nothing in and of itself is an act of rebellion.
Mm-hmm.
And he, up to the point of the hostage crisis, was doing nothing, going nowhere, rejecting the culture of white suburbia.
Drink a beer, drink a pack of beer, and just sit back, relax, and smoke a doobie.
And what's the last thing he says to Reese Witherspoon? We're going to get married, right? That's him buying in. That's him giving up. That's him going along. That's it. The rebellion's over at that point because he's come to realize that the rebellion is also bullshit.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's better to join society and fight from within than it is to fight on the outside. Again, pump up the volume. S.F.W, SLC Punk, a lot of the same themes. I'll give you the last word in S.F.W. I don't love this movie. I love the soundtrack. I love the idea of it. I have to tackle each one of these first as a movie critic, and then as a fan, and then also as a cultural commenter. As a film, strictly as a film, this is not a well-made movie.
Okay. All right, then.
It is an interesting idea. It is full of fun performances. It's very indie.
Oh, yes. That's a great description right there.
It is not a well-made movie.
Okay. All right. Well, surprisingly, this, I think, was my favorite of the three.
I'm not surprised.
Well, and I think a lot of it I was very surprised at the fact that I enjoyed
this. We get along so well and don't agree on anything. It's great.
Right. I remember when we sat down and watched this, my wife actually watched all three of these with me, but it was just me and my wife this time.
Can you take a minute and just tell me, what does the simple Appalachia woman say about these three comments on rebellion and establishment?
Well, okay. She's going to look at how the movie ends, usually, to tell you if it's stupid or not. That's basically how it boils down.
I accept her methodology, sure.
So if it doesn't end well, if it ends on either a cliffhanger or a situation like, let's just go back to pump up the volume.
In Mindy's mind, comedies are good, tragedies are bad.
Yeah. If you end it bad, that's the thing. It all depends on the ending. Christian Slater and his girlfriend get thrown into the back of a van, cut, cue credits, and we hear the talking over. That wasn't horrible. It wasn't bad. So she was okay with that. It was not. She didn't go away, come with that, and go stupid. That was stupid. S.F.W had a moment where I could have swore it was going to end right after they got shot. And I was like, they're going to end it right here, and my wife is going to look at me and punch me in the face.
This is your fault, Jesse.
Boom!
And he runs downstairs with tears in his eyes. Write me a song about how my wife abuses me.
I got a black guy again. But no, they picked
black
up.
Black eyes and oatmeal.
I'm so tired of the way she treats me. But they didn't end it like that, thank goodness, because they lived, and just like you said, they're in the hospital, they look at each other and, are you going to marry me? but so that was fine, and she enjoyed the ride to the end. I wondered if I was going to lose her at any point, but she wasn't on TikTok too much, so we'll put it that way. And SLC Punk, she stuck around, watched that. It wasn't horrible, and the way that it ended was fine. But as far as her commentary on all three of these, she would have rather watched Titanic 2 times, I would assume. So that's probably how she looks at it. But yeah, back to SFW. What was I in the middle of talking about before we went?
Well, you said that your wife watched these with you.
She watched these with me,
and you were going to go. That was your jumping off point, and then I stopped you just to talk about her opinion of the movie.
Anyway, I think that where I was going, maybe she I think she was kind of on board. You mentioned indie. That's probably where I was going, because there was definitely an indie feel to this movie.
Yeah.
We start out, it's like camcorder footage inside that 7-Eleven, the fun stop. But there was, in my opinion, there's a lot of messages about growing up here that were pretty evident. But again, I have a few things here I wrote down. We have a Tobey Maguire appearance, which I don't know if you saw that or not, but he was one of the, as Spab is walking across the street, he ends up running into these 2 teenagers who, he bums a joint off of and takes off with the joint. Oh my God,
Tobey Maguire was one of those 2?
Yeah, Tobey Maguire was the Owl, I think was his name. Which was pretty cool. Joni, is that her name? Joey
Lauren Adams.
Yes, my goodness, Joey Lauren Adams.
Little squeaky voice.
Monica Dice, I think, is her name. And by the way, they have a sex scene to Teenage Whore.
Hang on. So, do you go upstairs to your wife now and be like, Mindy, what's the deal?
What's the deal?
I'm on TikTok, Jesse. Mindy, what's the deal? Jesse, I'm tired. I have things to do tomorrow. Mindy, what's the deal?
What's the deal? We have Jake Busey in this too. That's the other moment I wanted to talk about, just real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say Jake Busey shows up. He has he's obviously off his rocker and he's running around with Spab. They go over and pick this one girl up off the floor who's drunk off her butt, put her in the tub. And Jake Busey is that's his girlfriend. Long story short, near the end of the scene, Jake Busey has a gun to this girl's head because he's apparently abusive fuck. He's just a real shithead. And she's crying, bawling her eyes out. And then as soon as she sees Spab, everything goes. She doesn't even remember she has a gun to her head. Which I was like,
how do you feel if you're Jake Busey? When you don't even matter when there's a possibility you could murder someone.
Right. He starts, you can see it on his face too. He's like, Jesus Christ, he lowers the gun. But the point I'm making there is that, the myth of Spab, because of the way the media has portrayed him and he's become such a hero. Number one, Spab himself is like, geez, he cried me. What the fuck? And then he got the hell out. But she's
fucking what, Spab?
So fucking what? And that's the other thing. He goes on this tirade in front of the camera because he's just trying to find shit to say, and people grab it and go with it and run with it. And I don't even think he believed in what he was saying. All right, next up, I promise we're just about done. The moment that Kim gets killed, which is the black lady who ends up getting shot she was like the first person to get shot as he was thinking she was getting let go, and he was just running off the mouth, being sarcastic, being stupid, and then they just put a bullet in her head right in front of him. That right there, actually, I think is the moment where he, if you're looking at this chronologically, he realizes, oh shit. And he has to grow up. And then later, of course, he loses his best friend. There is another moment where they meet a couple older people in an elevator as they're going to go party in his hotel room. I think this is towards near the end, maybe. And I only picked up on this just because of, what the types of films I watch all the time. The older couple, the man was named Phil Connors and his wife was named Rita. Now, do those names sound familiar to you at all? As he takes a drink of water.
What's familiar about them, Jesse?
Phil Connors and Rita. Phil Connors, Bill Murray. Rita was played by, Andy McDowell in Groundhog Day. Yep. I don't know why they went with that, but they did. Phil Connors, they went with it. And I think that was pretty much all the fun stuff that I kind of pulled from this. And again, I said I like this movie. I think it is my favorite of the three, just because there's a lot of message that's coming through this, a lot of commentary in regards to how the media treats trauma. It's my wife. Well, if you're on TikTok, you probably have an algorithm that really feeds into that type of stuff if you like to watch it. Today, I'm sitting there making breakfast.
God forbid you like one video one video that talks about black fatigue. The next 20 will be about black fatigue. And I'm like, I just like the one.
Everybody that my wife watches is getting into a fight. That at some point, like I'm sitting there, I'm listening, and this lady is like, "Get out of my yard! Get out of my yard! Get out of my fucking yard!"
Oh, she's a Karen's of TikTok person.
That's got to be what it is, because all of a sudden, this lady was in this lady's yard about her fence. The next thing you know, you hear a chainsaw get started up, and I'm like, "Does this not stress you out watching this stuff?" And I hear it all the time. She's watching some kind of conflict.
Let me tell you how, like, I had a conversation. I talked about how because of what I'm doing, because of who I am, because I'm what I'm trying to accomplish, I'm now in this mode of everything is content, which is how influencers behave.
Right.
And I have to moderate that because I have kids and they have a right to grow up without a camera on them.
Right.
And they are vocal enough to have said, there are times where we're going to be okay with this. We understand what the assignment is. And there are other times you're going to have to just let us be kids. And I respect that. And let me tell you how no one else is having that conversation.
Right.
Jesus Christ, the shit people are filming.
It is something else.
My favorite is like, and I shouldn't laugh at this. This is horrible, but like there's a meme that keeps popping up on Instagram and TikTok, and it's like a baby, like a real baby, like 6 months old, sitting at like a foam pit, and like on the edge of like the carpet, like a trampoline park, and a toddler runs up and just knocks the baby.
I can't watch that shit. I can't watch that.
Foam pit. And then it cuts off right before this kid dropped a Macho Man-esque elbow on her. And I'm thinking to myself, why didn't you stop recording earlier than that?
Nope.
It's like they had to get the shot. Like, what are you, a guerrilla film director? It's like, you're not doing an indie film. These are your goddamn kids.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
My last thing, we'll move on to SLC Punk. The very end of this film, we're close to the end of the film.
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of what I sent you, and I thought it was like this is what hammered the message home. So Babs, the one that shot both Spab and Wendy, is sit down, and now, okay, she's the new news piece. They sit down and they ask her, they go, okay, well, what do can you kind of tell us what you think about, or why did you do what you do? Why did you do what you did? And she goes, I must be very careful what I say about Cliff Spab. And the media person says, why? And about that time, the TV gets turned off. And that right there hammers the message home. Like, the media is not out for, like, they don't want you to be careful about it. Go for it. Just say it, because that's going to create some sensationalism. That's going to get our network some views. That's going to get our story, I
can't remember which book it was that I read, but it was talking about people being on, like, Jerry Springer type talk shows. And producers having people in green rooms, getting them fired.
Getting them ready. There is a documentary on Netflix about Jerry Springer. I don't know if you had a chance to watch it, but they talk about that. It's very interesting.
Like, other people who would otherwise come out and be level-headed and ready to discuss it, there's like people in the back going, no, this guy like cheated on you. Like, aren't you mad about this? Like, did you just tear his head off? And then you wonder why they come out to the stage and they immediately spear the other person like they're fucking Goldberg.
There was a murder that was, I mean, there was a lawsuit and all this stuff because the lady was fired up. She comes out there and she's confronted after they had tried to get her all riled up. They definitely got the other person all riled up.
Mm-hmm.
This lady she said like a couple words, got up and left. And the next thing you know, I think I'm pretty sure she had murdered somebody, or there was some type of, it was maybe later on down the line, but regardless, she kind of saw through that and just got up and walked out. And I'm pretty sure this was in that Springer documentary. If you get an opportunity to watch it, do so.
Mm-hmm. If you've got something else, that's fine. Say it once I get my piece out here. Otherwise, we'll move on to SLC Punk. But part of the reason why my preferred method of content creation is the long form podcast is I don't think anything worth saying can be said quickly.
Right.
But I don't think many outlets of opinion or news are interested in things being said well.
I'll agree with that.
I don't think on the one side there's an audience or an appetite for it, and I don't think there's an interest in promoting it. I think it's a race to the bottom to feed short attention spans with jingling keys. And let me tell you how I resisted it for the longest time, and I've only recently turned a corner that said if you can't beat them, join them. But I can't take what we're doing the way I think about it and do it the way that there's an appetite for it without help. It's just not the way my brain thinks. I don't have that kind of talent. There is, and I'll say this. I think there is a certain degree of talent in being pithy, and I don't have it. I am long-winded. I am verbose. That said, along comes ChatGPT, and what I'll do is I will just talk into it. I hit the record button, the microphone button, and I just rant.
That's good.
And then I go,
that's healthy.
Yeah, and I go, okay, that's my thought. Caitlin Clark, septum rings, Harry Hardon, you name it. Just the amount of TikToks about how bad schools are versus what I saw on The Wire season 4 20 years ago. And how I don't know what these people are talking about. Nothing's changed in 20 years. The only thing that changed is that TikTok is now a thing.
Right.
And all of those ideas I just verbalized into ChatGPT, and I went, now give me a 1-minute TikTok script. Because I don't know how to take what I just said for talking for 20 minutes and distill that into something that's digestible in a minute.
Yeah.
And ChatGPT goes, I got you, friend. Here you go.
Here it is.
I look at it and I go, well, this kind of gets to the point of what I'm saying. And then I realize that's all anyone ever wants from me. Nobody wants what we're doing. This is for me.
No, they don't want the discussion. No. And then I guess, that's fine. They want the 1-minute soundbite.
Yep. And I'm okay. Again, kind of going back to that whole Matrix thing of just give me a choice. And I choose to do what I enjoy with my friends, and then I'll create the thing everybody else wants separately. So even like my clips that I pull from this, like I can't bring myself like the ChatGPT is like, well, none of what you're doing here is going to work on TikTok. You want to just pull you just want to pull a moment out. You want to pull a minute out of this 2-hour thing you did on The West Wing, which is super smart and really, really insightful. No one's going to stand for it. Why don't you just pull the one line about we run in poetry and govern in prose? And I'm like, I can't, ChatGPT. I just can't.
It hurts. Don't make me do this.
Right. I'll give you 10 minutes. And ChatGPT says, given an hour, it's not going to matter. It's not what they want.
Yeah.
So anyway, anything else about SFW?
I'm ready to move on, brother.